What's up, YouTube? How's everyone doing? It's your boy Reg in the building. Got my homeboy Try in the building with me. How you doing?
Yo, yo, chilling.
Alright. So we're just gonna do a little quick video talking about the recent behind the music episode of Biv Devoe. And I said to
Yes.
myself, I'm just like, this is actually the first time somebody actually did a docu about Biv Devoe. Because usually, if they talk about Biv Devoe's history, it
Mm-hmm.
can sometimes be observed by the new edition history, which of course is natural because the other members came from new edition.
Right.
But I really wanted to get more in depth about Velvet Devoe.
Mhm.
So behind the music, you guys should know that show. That's the VH1 show talking about certain artists. As far as the show goes about behind the music, I've always had mixed feelings about behind the music. To be real with you, especially like the classic episodes, because some of them, if it's like a certain artist, like I remember when they did Shaka Khan
Mhm.
in behind the music, and they pretty much just focus on her personal issue. They barely just focus on the music like that, unless he was with Rufus and shit too. But like I said, if it's like a certain white band or rock artist, they'll try to balance it out and whatnot too. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm more of an unsung guy. You know, that's me. That's my behind the music. I'm more of an unsung nigga, but that's another story for a different day. So they came out with a new season a couple of weeks ago, and they released every episode. Some of them was just remastered episodes, but then the Velvet Devote episode came out, and honestly, there were some things from Velvet Devote I did not know, believe it or
Mhm.
not, because
Yeah.
I thought it was going to mostly focus on the Poison album, talk about the Hootie Mac, jump to the hit up the Home Again tour. You know what I'm saying? Talk about all of that,
Mhm.
but they actually went in depth. Like
They did.
as far as history goes, of course they talk about the new edition. They talk about the new edition, and then them breaking out, and Bob Brown going solo, all that shit. And so they talk about the Poison album, of course, classic album. That album right there is a fucking five mic masterpiece, if you ask me.
Yes.
But it was right after that I was expecting, oh well, they're just going to skim through this, but I actually didn't know a lot of shit. And well, I'm gonna let you say your thoughts. I'm gonna let you say your thoughts, and before I get to what I didn't know and shit like that too, because I don't want to
There
talk
was
about
a
too much.
lot of this documentary was all over the place. There was a lot of stuff. Most of it I knew. Some here and there. Excuse me. I didn't know about. But of course they started with New Edition. It was heavy. New Edition involved in this because they came from that group and they were an offspring group that nobody ever thought would have been successful on their own with the three members, and they showed the world, they showed the group. They was selling more than New Edition when DVD came out, when the Poison came out, and they got cocky and rightfully so. If you selling millions of records after not selling that same amount in a group, you're gonna feel some type of way. And they talked about the downfall and the tension within the group when Mike got the Big Ten deal with Motown, and
Which
that
I
part
didn't
I
know.
didn't know. Yeah, Ricky and Ronnie felt some type of way, and that part I never knew. I always knew about like the tension within the group when Hootie Mac had dropped because that was a bad album. I remember getting that album from the Columbia House bargain bin for 99 cents back in the day, and it was terrible, and I threw it away. And I've never seen it in stores since then, since the 90s, and there were a couple dope songs. That might be an album that I wouldn't mind having again in my collection because there were a couple dope songs on the album that I liked, but it just was a bad album overall. And I remember the tension within the group when that came out, and how Ricky and Ronnie felt like they felt some type of way. I don't know if it was jealousy or envy. They felt some type of way when Mike got the deal with Big Ten Records and Motown because he wasn't he was wearing two hats. He was a manager now and signing acts like ABC and Boyz II Men, having his own label, and then being a part of BVD. And Mike went out of his way to give both of them a check, like wrote both of them a check and give it to the boys that he grew up with in Boston and say, here, this is for all the hard work. And you helped me because BBD is a part of this. You know, when you look at the old like Biv 10 records, promos and the compilation album he dropped, BBD was a part of that. They were in Motown Philly, the video. You know, ABC, that was like a direct descendant from BBD, you know, and he felt like they were a part of his success. And when he called them up, they never showed up. They didn't answer the call. And he didn't have to do that. He could have kept all that money to himself. But he went out of his way like the good person that he is and wrote both of them a check because he felt like they were part of his success. And that part I didn't know. And they talked about like how the incarnation, how it started, you know, when New Edition had success and Bobby, you know, he he felt some type of way. He went solo and blew up, and Ralph wanted to go solo. And then, you know, Johnny, they end up bringing in Johnny, and you know, when it was time for Ralph and Johnny to do their albums, like what was gonna happen to the other three members? Bobby was already huge. He was already like the king of R&B at that time. So what was gonna happen to the other three members? And you know, Jimmy Jam suggested that they be a group. And Ronnie's like, that's when the light bulb went off in his head. Like, yo, that could actually work. You know, and I love the old footage when they showed like when in like during the Under the Moon era when it was just like those four members after Bobby left, but right before they got Johnny. And there's like they were on a award show and was it the Black Gold Awards in '87? They showed that footage when it was just the three of them because Ralph wouldn't want to go on stage with them. He was already thinking his solo as a solo artist, and it was just I never seen that footage. And I didn't even never even heard of the Black Gold Awards before, but they showed when Ricky and Mike and Ronnie was performing by themselves, and that was like the first incarnation of BBT right there. They just didn't know it yet, you know. And the suits that they were wearing, like the blue suit, it was like blues with like a yellow thunderbolt across. They had like the San Diego Chargers colorway suit on. I was like, yo, what is this? And the yellow shoes, like that was drip back then. You know what I'm saying? And they New Edition always dressed their ass off. But that was like the
Right.
first incarnation of BBD with those the three members with no Ralph, no Bobby. Johnny wasn't even a member yet, and they were performing up by themselves, and that was dope to see. I never even seen that footage before. And when Ricky is watching it, he don't even remember that. He was like, "Damn, I never seen this before." And you know, Jimmy Jam tells them to form a group, and they do. I remember when I first saw Poison on new Video Music Box for the first time, and I'm like, "What the hell is this? Where's the group? Like, why am I seeing Ricky and Mike and Ronnie dressing like, Timberland boots and baggy jeans and starter hats with the tag still on them?" I'm like, "What is this? Where's Ralph?" You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, "What's going on here?" So I didn't know what the hell was going on, and um, I remember seeing. I kept seeing the video, and then I kept hearing the song play, and they were like, "Yo, like this is a new group from them, and they're doing their own thing. And they got an album coming out, and I remember getting the album, and it was fire. And every day I played Poison, and it just became like part of my like heavy rotation, and everybody was just hooked on that song and the whole album, and just the style of dress, like the Doc Martens, the Timbs, the jeans with the rhinestones on them, the airbrush denim, the starter hats with the tag still on them. Like that was just their own swag that nobody else was doing at that time. And we ended up in being in junior high school. We ended up dressing like them. When ABC dropped, when they came out with Playground, and they dressing like them, when they got the Bo Jacksons on with the winter parkers with with the tags on them and the winter hats, like we was dressing like them. I was going to like Dr. J's and Macy's and buying starter hats with the tags on them just to rock it like them. You know what I'm saying? And then like when they went on tour, MTV was like following them around. So MTV would like follow them around on tour, and they would show like different locations they were performing at: Milwaukee, Indiana, LA. And it was like they would just follow them backstage, and they were just having fun backstage, with the female dances, and that was the thing. I'm like, they just created their own lane, and they were just as hot as any other New Jack Swing artist at that time. You know what I'm saying? New Jack Swing was real big. Keith Sweat was blowing up, and Johnny had his album out at that time, and you know Teddy Riley was huge with Guy, and it was just a thing. It was just crazy, and BBD just carved their own niche, and they had their own swag and their own sound, and the hip hop smoothed out with the R&B tip. It was just dope, and I'm like, yo, like this could actually work. I never thought I could see them in a group, but this could actually work, and I felt like it was a great platform for Ricky Bell, who to me was like one of the most underrated group members of any group. And he still has his voice. Like he still can sing his ass off now. You know what I'm saying? And I think that was like the perfect jumping platform for him to showcase his vocals, like to get away from Ralph. And Bobby was doing his own thing, and like that. Let's it was a perfect platform for him to show the world that he could sing too. And I think right after that, I think that's when you got to hear more of Ricky Bell on vocals, like on any Heartbreak album, especially on Home Again. Home Again, he did his thing.
Yes.
Definitely. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, they purposely released that was that song One More Day. They purposely released that for him because that was like a Ricky Bell solo track. That was a single from that album. You know what I'm saying? And I always felt like he was the like when you see them now, even in concert, like he's at the forefront now. It's not like back in the '80s when he would play the back. Like he's at the forefront now with them. You know what I'm saying? Because he still has his voice. Johnny still has his voice. You know what I mean? And I felt like if they ever decided to do new music, it got to be Ricky and Johnny to do most of the lead vocals because Ralph can't hit those high notes like he used to. Like
No.
when they perform Candy Girl now, like they have to do Candy Girl in a different key because he can't hit those high notes like he used to. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I think BBD was like the perfect platform for him to like really showcase what he could do. And then you got Mike and Ronnie that they were like the Ray and Ghosts of like the '90s of when it comes to like rapping. They would trade back and forth verses with each other. They was great, you know what I'm saying? And they were just having fun, and it was great to see them being successful and making the money that they didn't make. Unfortunately, because of Maurice Starr with New Edition, and it was great times, and they showed that, and then showing them going through the hardships of being successful, and now you got to come back with your second album. Now, what you going to do to top Poison? And it was just a lot of stuff going on for them, and they were honest about it. Ricky Bell was honest about them, like they were in the studio high as hell when they made Hootie Mac, and I didn't know that. I think you had told me that shit.
Yeah.
And I didn't know they were like high as hell, doing Hootie Mac, and all goes back into the album title Hootie Mac. At that time, and you had the Chronic, Dre was blowing up, and the whole Death Row sound, and West Coast G Funk, and that was like their Chronic album to them. It was like, let's name the album Hootie Mac, and we're just gonna do our thing. But it's like your fans didn't like how they were coming out. Gangsta I still love Gangsta. I think it was a dope song, but the record label thought it was too hardcore for them, and that wasn't them, and which is why it's not on the album. And but they end up putting out a video for it. I remember seeing the video a couple times, and they performed it when they made a cameo on Fresh Prince of Bel Air. But they didn't mention that. I wish they had did when they were on the Fresh Prince of Bel Air and performing that song. But they had some joints on Hootie Mac. I just didn't think it was a great album, and they were struggling. And then you know the main thing was that, okay, now nobody expected these members to go off and make a side group and be successful. Now you got to come back within the mix of a band, of a group, with Ralph Tresvant and Bobby included and Johnny. Now you got your new member. What happens now? Because, like, they talked a little bit about Any Heartbreak, which was their best album to me, and Mike and Hiram Hicks was the ones that got Johnny, and he became a new member, and it was a great fit for him. And he was already a great artist, as it is, with doing stuff with Stacey Daddis, and that's their best album. And you know when it was time for them to do Home Again, it's like we have all of these egos now, and this is really like the first time that BBD is coming back, as the New Edition members within the fold. Is like, I feel like that's really what made that tour, just fall apart, because there was so many egos. Bobby's coming back, he was successful. Johnny's coming back, he was successful. Ralph really, Ralph is still the lead front man, and he really didn't have a successful solo career. And he's looking at everybody else like, damn, BBD went multi-platinum and not my album. You know what I'm saying? So that I would love to see, like, just a whole documentary for that album recording session alone. Like, how was it? What was the temperature in the studio when they all came back for the first time together? And now you including Bobby again, who hasn't been here since what, the Awful Love album, and you have six people coming back with egos, and BBD's coming back with all this success. What was that like in the studio? That's what I wanted to hear. You know what I'm saying? And I just think they talked about the stuff that happened on that tour, and we already know about that stuff just from watching the New Edition biopic. But that was some crazy times, you know what I'm saying? And then they just ended up Ricky talked about his drug addiction, being starting off with ecstasy and then moving up to cocaine and shit, and how he was high. He was high for like the first night of that tour, and Mike was like the one to tell him, like, yo, like, you're gonna sit out this one. And Mike was sending a message to him like, yo, like, we're gonna perform without you, like we did with Bobby. We're gonna perform. Bobby thought like that he couldn't be replaced, and we had to show him that we got Johnny now. And Mike was sending that message to Ricky like, yo, you're gonna sit this one out, and we're gonna send a strong message to you, like, if you fuck up, we're gonna kick you out of the group. You know what I'm saying? And Mike almost got kicked out of the group too. You know what I'm saying? And I applaud Ricky for being honest about his drug addiction and letting people know, because he didn't have to do that. He could have hit all of that shit, and he let people know what it was. And his wife was a part of the documentary, and she talked about how they met and how she was there for him through the dark times. And I just thought it was a great, well put together documentary, and I didn't expect nothing less from them. I really wanted to see how Behind the Music was gonna do it. It's been years since I even saw the whole Behind the Music series, and I enjoyed this one. This was a classic one.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you about that.
Yeah.
Is there like any favorite parts you want to talk about?
Like I really enjoyed the part where that they talked about Hootie Mac, because that seems to be like a album that gets overlooked. Like, yeah, like they will always be known for Poison, because that is their best album still. But within their discography, nobody talks about the other albums. Like, even the remix album was dope. They showed clips of, like, or they played like tracks from that album during the documentary, but they didn't like go in depth about that remix album. But that was a great remix album. Hootie Mac was just one of those albums that it was high expectations, and they never talked about it like how they did in this documentary. And I was glad that they did. And I like the fact that Ricky was talking about his drug addiction, and how that whole thing started, and how he got help, and he overcame it, and that was great. That was great because they've always been known as a squeaky clean boy band, and people forget, like, these boy bands, when you got like NSYNC, who's been through their shit, and especially Backstreet Boys, who's been through their drama. None of these boy bands are squeaky clean. That's just the image that the record company portrays. But they all go through their shit, and New Edition was no different. And I'm glad that they spoke on that, during the documentary, and it was great, man. I love to watch like the old footage of the stuff they showed.
Yeah, I definitely loved the old footage and
Yeah,
Ricky's redemption storyline as well too. Well, his redemption arc, I should say that. So yeah, this was a highly recommended behind the music. A lot of things that I didn't know about Biv Devoe. You know what I'm saying? Especially when it came to that Huey Mac album. I
yeah,
wish they would have mentioned like the Fresh Prince of Bel Air guest feature, but
yeah.
you can only talk about so much when it comes to that.
They did so many things. I remember them when Above the Rim came out. That was like the anthem for the NBA, because the NBA used to have this show called Inside the NBA, and Ahmad Rashad was like the host for that, and it would come on like Saturday afternoons, and I think later on Grant Hill became a host, and like they would have like a segment where they would do like the best slam dunks of the week, and they would play Above the Rim because it was like an anthem for basketball. Like, even the video, like they're playing hoops in the video, and these people forget, these guys actually played hoops when they were younger. Like Michael Bivins could play ball. He's been playing ball forever. They used to have like ball celebrity tournaments and shit. So um they did a lot. They did a lot of different promotional stuff, and I love the Video Soul interview when they were there, and I remember watching that back in there, and not even knowing the troubles that they were having at that time. That's why I was like, it's so dope now to look back at all this old footage. I'm like, I remember when they were at Video Soul with Donnie Simpson, and not even knowing what they were going through until now. So you know, well, what was your favorite part of the show?
Mm. Honestly, if I'm gonna be real with you, my favorite part was watching a lot of the studio sessions, like with the Poison album, and
Yeah,
even with the Holy Mac. I always like music documentaries where we can just see the making of the album,
yeah,
and I definitely liked when they talked about like the whole situation between the members and Vivers, managing like ABC, Boys to Men, and everything like that too. As long as I can learn
right.
something new, that's always highly recommended. So, and
And
of course, oh,
mm,
go ahead.
now I was saying that another part I like was when they were planning on doing the album, and they didn't have no producers, and the Bomb Squad, when the Chuck D put them in touch with the Bomb Squad, and if you look at it, Chuck D really is like the unsung hero for both Ice Cube and BBD. Cause there was a clip where Cube was like talking about how like Chuck D was responsible for the making of America's Most Wanted. What's the name of the Ice Cube album again? Not America's Most Wanted.
You got it right. Memphis Most Wanted.
Yeah, America's Most Wanted. Right, the one that the Bomb Squad produced. Like, there was a video that I seen online where Cube was talking about the making of that album, and he was like, Chuck, if it wasn't for Chuck D, there would be no America's Most Wanted. Like, Chuck D put hooked him up with the Bomb Squad, and then the rest of history. Same thing with this. Like, Chuck D put BBD with the Bomb Squad, and the Bomb Squad told him like, yo, like, we're gonna do your whole album, not just a couple tracks. We're gonna do the whole shit. And like, with them is like, they looked at Public Enemy like, yo, they was like the biggest rap group at that time. So it was like, for the bomb squad to come from doing like, brother's gonna work it out, and 911 is a joke, and Night of the Bass heads to Poison, and I thought it was me. I was just fucking crazy. You know what I'm saying? And they had Eric, they had Keith Shockley a part of that documentary also. Shout out to Keith and the whole Bomb Squad. You know what I'm saying? And people forget. I'm like, the Bomb Squad did this fucking album. That's why it's a classic. Cause they were just untouchable at that time. Like doing shit for PE, doing shit for Cube, doing shit for BBD. It was like that was like the trifecta right there. You know what I'm saying? And they don't get the respect that they deserve, man. You know what I'm saying? Like at that time, that would have been hard for even Teddy Riley to do. You know what I'm saying? And when you look at it now, like there's producers, not all producers, but there's some producers that can cross genres and can do classic albums in R&B and hip hop. But at that time, that was unheard of. Like that shit didn't happen every day. And they made it. They somehow did it. And I like the fact that they included the Bomb Squad a part of the documentary too.
Exactly. Yeah, Bomb Squad definitely a dope production group right there.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, well, I'm just gonna end us off right here and everything like that too. Like I said, you guys can stream this on Paramount Plus. You
Yes.
know what I'm saying? Appreciate this try as usual.
Yep. You know what? One more thing before we go. Even though I know it's a BBD, I know it's a BBD documentary, but we didn't get no sound bites from Ralph or from Bobby. You
Right.
noticed that? I don't, I,
Mm-hmm.
I think we might have gotten one from Johnny, but we didn't get none from. I mean, I don't know if they asked them or maybe they asked them and they declined. But I wanted to know from Ralph, like, what was he thinking when he's looking at his counterparts go multi platinum, and he didn't go multi platinum as a solo artist. He had to have been feeling some type of way about that. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? Because I seen it was I saw something where it was in the when Michael Bivins had did the Math Hoffa interview, and he was
Yeah.
like, when they first did Poison, he said Ralph was supposed to be on that song because they went to Ralph house first when after they finished the song to play for him to hear what he thought, and he wanted to jump on that song, and Ronnie was like, nah, this is for us. You ain't getting on this shit. So think about that. We could have had Ralph Tresvant on the chorus for Poison. That would have been crazy. You know what I'm saying? And they didn't know if it was gonna blow up or not. And I wanted to hear what Ralph thought about seeing his boys do well. Like they already saw how what Bobby was doing, but I wanted to hear from Ralph and from Bobby what did they think about BBD's success. And we didn't get that. I would have loved to see that.
Exactly.
You know?
That would have been definitely an interesting take right there too.
Yeah, yeah, because that part I didn't know. I didn't know that Ralph was supposed to be on the song.
Me neither.
That's crazy. And that Michael Bivins documentary, I got to see that. I still haven't found the links on streaming for that yet.
Yeah, say less.
Yeah,
But yeah, man. Anything you want to say before we head out?
this was fun. I definitely enjoyed it. If people love BBD and New Edition, they should definitely watch this on streaming. It was great. Definitely brought back memories.
I bet. I will appreciate this, fam, as usual.
Yeah.
And y'all can tune in to this channel, tune in on That Ain't Rap Podcast, That Ain't Rap
Yes.
Podcast for all the other good shit. Make sure you subscribe to both of us. And I'll
Yep.
see y'all later.
All right.
Peace.
Peace.